welcome to the Marketing 101 for Small Business Owners podcast. And this is our new series on just called Moco Business Buzz. And our whole purpose is one, to give exposure to some of our local entrepreneurs who are doing amazing things in Montgomery County. And also just kind of give me the opportunity to hear some of the marketing success and struggles that some of my either friends, companions, or just possible future clients are going through. And so today I have with me Kathryne Carter, and I'm excited to have her. I've known her for a few years now. And so Kathryne, please introduce yourself a little further, share with us who you are and your company and what you do to help our community grow.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Philippa, for having me. I am Kathryne Carter. I own Grace and Virtue Events. It's a wedding and event logistics planning company based in Montgomery County, but I serve the whole DMV with planning and coordination services for proposals, weddings, social events like birthdays and dinners, and also small business corporate events.
Right. So tell me what a planner does. Like if I was getting married, why would I use your services? Like what are you going to do that's going to help me make my wedding better?
Yes. So one of the things that I always say to my clients is like, my job is to bring you choices, right? You want to have this wedding, you want to have this event. And with my expertise of knowing like logistics and vendor connections and things like that, I can help you execute an event, a wedding that, matches your vision, right? So from beginning to end, like what's the first thing that needs to happen? Who are the first vendors you might need to book to secure their services and make sure that they're available? Sometimes vendors book out more than a year in advance. And so making sure that those connections are there, making sure that if we're looking for a venue space that you have the options to kind of know like, hey, this space offers you this and this space offers you this. And so my job is to bring you those choices. Also to kind of help with like the day-to-day planning. So we might meet once a month. We might meet, more often, just to kind of help you kind of check those boxes of like, did you do this? Did you do that? And not to stress you out. So I would bring those things to you in bits and pieces to kind of say, hey, let's talk about how this is going to work. Transportation or the food. If there's multicultural elements to it, kind of talking about how that would fit together. Some people want traditional things in their weddings and events, and so kind of talking about how can we do a hybrid if you don't want to do like a full traditional, like if you want to mix it, especially if you have two or more cultures, like how can you blend those things to kind of highlight them and make them a part of your special celebration. So with all of those different conversations, I'm here to help make choices and then also be a third party. Weddings and events can sometimes be emotional, and so I'm that third party where I can still operate. I love that we're celebrating, but I can also operate and like, this is my client, this is business, and I'm taking care of the things so that they can fully enjoy the moment and experience their feelings, and I'm taking care of the things behind the scenes that things happen, whatever that may be. I'm taking care of those things so they can stay in the moment.
Awesome. So you're being that superhero, putting out fires that nobody even knows are starting.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I know I dabbled a little bit in event planning years ago. And I totally get what you're saying in terms of being that third party, not emotionally involved with what's going on. Because for that reason, whenever family or friends would ask if I could help, and I'm like, I don't know, because if I know so-and-so does something, I'm going to get distracted from what I need to focus on. So
and the family members should get to enjoy the experience too, like being at the event. They're always welcome to like kind of help during the planning process if like they have a particular portion of the event that they want to kind of help contribute to. Absolutely. And there are roles that we can have family members play, like on the day of, like there are things that we can say, hey, you're helping with this, can you come make sure this is executed well. But then they can do that small part and then go back to celebrating. Like it doesn't have to be that they're managing the whole event, because then that takes them away from the actual celebrating, right? Like it's like, oh, my sister will do my, da da da. But then she's not with you celebrating. She's taking care of whatever you've assigned her to. My job is to kind of be that barrier so that you guys can enjoy it and I can take care of the other things.
Okay. And then my last question on this too is, if I have an event that I've already planned, I've coordinated all the stuff, I just need somebody to be there the day of to make sure everything I've planned happens and I can focus on my guest and be the host. Can you do that as well, or do you prefer to be there from the beginning?
Yes, I can do that. So it's basically like day of coordination services. I like to be part of the process a little bit earlier than just like, oh, hey, here's the things I've done. Go execute. Like that's a little bit harder because sometimes like the logistics wise, right? Like once I'm starting to put it into like, okay, these things have to happen. Sometimes it might be like, oh, I'll ask questions, or I might say something that'll be like, oh, well, this would work out better. So sometimes it's a little bit harder because I don't want to undo all the work you've done. So sometimes it's easier if clients kind of book me in advance to kind of say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And we can go through and kind of organize like, okay, yes, that makes sense. Okay, tweak this a little bit because like logistics wise, it might make sense if we do this. Like you don't want to have your cake arriving at 9 a.m. and your party's at 4, and so like those types of logistics, you kind of want to make sure you have kind of like timeline. And since I have done timeline management for quite a while, I kind of know like what needs to happen when. And so I can help, maybe we have a consultation in the beginning to kind of say, okay, things look great, keep going, and let's touch base 60 days out before the event. Just to make sure that everything is kind of done, and then you can kind of coast into the weeks leading up to the event and not have to think about, oh my God, we didn't do this.
Yes. Okay, awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. So it sounds like whenever they find you, they're going to be in good hands. Ideally, don't wait till the last week of, but
I have done it just because I don't want anyone to be in that position because it is hard. But ideally, if you have that time and you have a few months leading up to your event, that would be great. Okay. It also ultimately helps you because sometimes last minute expenses or things that you might have to do might pop up, and so it's like if we have that planning period just to kind of talk through things, it ultimately saves you in the end from having to like do add more things or add time. You have a 4-hour event and you only booked your DJ for 2 hours. You don't want him setting up and leaving in the middle of your party. So like there's just logistics things that sometimes could get missed, just because they're like, if you're signing contracts, I do contract review just to kind of make sure that what you're signing for actually happens, or the things that you're signing for and they are restrictions that they don't happen, just to protect you.
Oh, good. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I wish I had a lot of that when I was planning my wedding years ago. Okay, so now we're going to get to the second part of this show where we want to learn a little bit about marketing. So executing your business, awesome, that's good, that is your skill set. Sometimes running a business is not the best thing for people, and it's a little bit more work than they anticipated, including marketing. So I'm sure you have done some marketing for yourself over the years, otherwise we wouldn't be here talking. So tell me some of the things that you have done to market your business that you feel have actually worked pretty well in getting you some good clients.
So I'm actually a lot of my clients are coming word of mouth. So that's been really, really wonderful. But I think a lot of the most recent marketing things that I've done is being a member of the Chamber of Commerce. Like that has been extremely helpful, and a supportive environment for me, not just to grow my business also, but to learn how to run and manage a business on the CEO side, right? So that's been one of like my major marketing strategies. Trying to grow a little bit more on social media, and kind of I spent some time recently updating my content pillars and trying to kind of give more. I listen to your blogs and like the tips that you give, Philip, but I'm like, oh, that's a good tip. Let me focus on this. So like really kind of narrowing down like what my content pillars are and what's the content, what's the education from a planner perspective that I can share with clients that they may or may not know, just because they're not in the world every day, right? And then, what is my expertise that I can share, or like behind the scenes, like things that I think is fun or that I love about what I do that people don't get to see all the time. So I've been thinking more about that. And then I think working with other vendors, connecting with people in my industry, DJs, caterers, venues, all of the above, just to kind of one, build those connections, especially if I've worked with them and I enjoy working with them, kind of fostering those relationships and making sure that like, hey, like we work together really well. Let's do it again.
Yes, I like that, and I love the networking and getting to know people that way, because people want to work with people. They don't want to work
Mm-hmm.
with companies. I mean, not that no knock on restaurants out there. There's a lot of personal restaurants where I know the owners and their energy really make the atmosphere what it is. But there's some restaurants where you could go order your food and leave and never really interact with the people behind the counter. For
Mm-hmm.
you, though, people are going to have to interact with you. They have to like your vibe, your style, because you're going to be there on one of the most important days. Even if it's not even a wedding, but it's still even a corporate event,
Yeah.
that's an important day for them. And so the relationship they have with you and how they enjoy your personality and stuff is important. And so
Yeah.
for them to be able to see often your expertise, meet you and see how you handle yourself, that's going to contribute to whether or not they work with you. And so it's good to see that that's incorporated in your marketing strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think it's like ebbed and flow, right? Like you learn something new, you're like, oh yeah, I need to incorporate that. And since marketing per se is not necessarily my background or anything like that, I feel like I've learned a lot of really good tips over the years that like once I learn something, it's like, oh, I can execute. I can put that into practice.
Yeah.
Or if it's something that I'm like, maybe I'll just hold on to that nugget for a little bit.
Yeah, maybe it's for later, not
Maybe
for
it's
now.
for later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing about marketing is there's so many different things that you can incorporate, and not all of them are going to be for you,
Yeah.
and not all of them should be for you. It's finding the right tactics that work with you, work with your brand, and those are the ones that shine.
Yeah.
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 So speaking of the opposite of that, then is ones that don't shine. So have you experienced some marketing struggles, things you did try that just either bombed completely, or something you want to try and you just don't know enough about it to really execute it comfortably yet?
Yeah. I think for me, I think it would be like the Google ads or like any type of ads, right? Like Facebook has ads, Instagram has ads, like all these platforms have ads. But I would say as a whole, like the ads have been something that I have not quite dabbled into. I tried it with Facebook a few years ago, and it was kind of like one hard to navigate. And of course, Facebook has upgraded their system and kind of changed their platform. So this was a few years ago, but it was like I set it up, I put all in my demographics information and all the things that I wanted, and it was like you have two leads, and it was like where are they?
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to be like, oh, I'm not responsive. I'm like, I don't know how to access it. Like who contacted me or who clicked or who filled out or whatever it was. It was not easy to figure out that information.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like aborted and was like, hopefully they'll come back to me. I don't know what happened. I don't know who they are or how to access it.
Yeah.
So that was something that I kind of gave up on. But I think in the future, as I keep learning, so I try to watch like podcasts or listen to things about it or tips about it. But like as I learn more, hopefully I can maybe do another test trial.
Yeah, and thankfully there are some. I think Facebook even they'll try to put out each and every time that things really change, they'll put out little tutorials on how to navigate the system. But yes, it is a little overwhelming, not only setting up the ad, but following up and understanding the results and how the
Mm-hmm.
ad performed and how to actually access the lead information. If it's not something you're dabbling in every single day, it's going to be
Yeah.
hard to navigate. And so I find I do see value in it, for certain industries and for certain things. Um, but one thing I know for sure is I like the fact that you got two leads. Sometimes people would have an ad out for like 2 months and not have anything, and get very discouraged. And I totally understand that. So that's a good sign that even 2 years ago you got two leads. Now we just got to figure out how to find them. But that tells me that if you were to do another ad now, based on the experience and the growth that you've done as an individual, as a business owner,
Mm-hmm.
the way you set up the ad, the way you message the ad is probably going to be even better, and you probably get even better results. I imagine you'll probably get even more leads this time. Um, my only suggestion too is a lot of times people, when they're testing out ads, they test it out for a very short period, and I'm talking like sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes a month. And I always say, that is nowhere near enough time to really know the
Yeah.
effectiveness of the ad. You want to pick a budget that is comfortable, that you can do, like maybe even if it's just $75 a month, do that at least for 3 to 6 months
Mm-hmm.
to see. By 6 months, you're really going to start seeing a pattern of how it's performing.
Yeah.
Um, any less than that, it's you don't have enough time to really see, because ads are going to take time. I think you're with an ad, ideally what you're doing is you're promoting yourself to people who don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do an ad for I mean, you could do an ad for people who do follow you already so they can see something new or special. But if you're doing the intentions of building your audience and capturing people who don't already know you,
Right.
that means they don't know you. And seeing one ad is not going to be enough to be like, I like this person, I'm going to work with them. They're probably going to need to
Yeah.
see that ad or variations, maybe 3 or 4 variations of an ad
Right.
a few times before they say, oh, wait, I am getting married. I do need somebody. And I've seen
Yeah.
this. They said, even if they saw only like you do a video ad and they hear like the first 3 seconds, something may trigger the next time they hear that the same thing and be like, oh, maybe I'll stop and listen a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, that's usually how an ad works.
Yeah.
And so stick with it. And I would say if you ever need help, like setting it up and navigating the innards of, okay, now that the ad's up, it says I have a lead. Where do I find it? Let me know. I'll either point you to a tutorial or we can walk through it together.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you make a good point. It's like building that like know, like, and trust factor with people too. Like they
Yes.
need to see that thing maybe multiple times to kind of see, oh, okay, yes, she's making great points, or she's sharing information that I didn't think about. And then also it's like the after those leads come, it's like knowing what to do, like following those metrics and like how to respond to them. And so that's something that I've dabbled in, like kind of figuring out a little over the years. But it's like, nope, that's something that expertise I want from you, people like you.
Yes. Yep. Yep. But it's a good thing that you're thinking about that. Sometimes people just put out the ad and know I want the ad to work. I need customers, but they're not
Mm-hmm.
thinking the logistics of what does it mean when a customer actually does come? What do you do? How do you respond? Do you respond differently than somebody who walked through your door?
Right.
Is that relationship different and understanding? Yeah, maybe you do need to have a specific response to online leads
Yeah.
versus somebody you network with and you've built a relationship with. That's there a different dynamic there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
that's awesome. Well, Kathryne, please share with everybody how they can learn more about your business, learn how to follow you, and learn more about you.
Absolutely. So my Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest handles are all at Grace and Virtue Events. And then I do have a Twitter. It's Grace and Virtue underscore. Someone else must have taken Grace and Virtue Events. But my website is www.graceandvirtueevents.com, and I'm Kathryne Carter, and so you can find me under those two on most social media platforms.
Perfect. I'll be sure to try and link those all in the show notes so everybody can have access to them.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I really appreciate your time and sharing with us.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.